In the beginning, there was only darkness. A deep, silent and formless void stretched across everything. And into this immense quiet, a voice spoke. And then, with a simple command, there was light. It was the first dawn, pure and brilliant, that separated itself from the endless shadows. A great expanse was formed, a firmament we now call the sky. On the third day, the waters under the sky were gathered into one place. Life began to sprout from the soil, tender grass, herbs yielding seed, fruit trees bearing fruit. Then came the lights in the heavens, sun to rule the day, moon to govern the night. On the fifth day, the waters teemed with living creatures. Birds flew above the earth across the open sky. The sixth day saw the earth bring forth its own creatures, cattle, creeping things, beasts of every kind. And at the end of this great work, God formed man in his own image. From the dust of the ground, Adam was created, and into his nostrils was breathed the breath of life. God planted a garden eastward in Eden, a place of unparalleled beauty and peace. From Adam's rib, God fashioned a woman, a companion and helper. He called her Eve. They were both naked in the garden, yet felt no shame. Their innocence was as pure as the light of the first day. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. On the seventh day, he rested from all his work. In the midst of this paradise stood two special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God had said they could eat from any tree except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day they ate they would surely die. Adam was given dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, every living thing that moves upon the earth. But a shadow crept in, a serpent more subtle than any beast came to Eve. It planted a seed of doubt, questioning the one command. The serpent twisted the truth, suggesting God withheld something wonderful. It whispered that their eyes would be opened and they would be like gods, knowing good and evil. Eve looked at the fruit. It was good for food, a delight to the eyes, desirable to make one wise. She took and ate, she gave some to Adam, he ate. Their innocence was lost, their eyes were opened, they saw their nakedness and felt shame. They stitched fig leaves to cover themselves. Hearing God walking, they hid. The simple harmony was broken. A choice had been made. Fear, separation, and the first sorrow entered a world that had only known joy. They began a new life marked by toil and hardship, as thorns and thistles would grow from the ground, and by the sweat of their brow they would eat bread. Eve bore a son, Cain, later another, Abel. The two brothers grew up in a new world, tinged with the memory of a lost paradise. Cain became a tiller of the ground, working the soil. Abel became a keeper of sheep, watching over his flocks with care. In time, each brought an offering to the Lord. Cain brought the fruit of the ground. Abel brought the firstborn of his flock. The Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but not for Cain and his offering. A dark feeling began to grow in Cain's heart. His face fell. Burning anger took root within him. God warned that sin was crouching at his door, that he must rule over it. But Cain did not listen. One day in the field, the brothers were alone. Cain rose up and killed Abel. The first human death came by a brother's hand. The soil that once brought life now drank the blood of an innocent. Then the Lord asked Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" Cain replied, "I do not know." "Am I my brother's keeper?" But God knew. He told Cain his brother's blood was crying out from the ground. Cain was cursed from the earth to become a fugitive and wanderer. A mark was placed on him, not so others would kill him. Cain left the Lord's presence, lived in exile, carrying the weight of his actions as humanity's story continued. A deep wound was inflicted on humanity's young family. The field's silence was broken by violence, an echo for the ages. From Seth, the generations of humanity began to spread across the earth. Families grew into clans. Clans became a great multitude. But as the number of people grew, so did the darkness in their hearts. The thoughts and intentions of the human heart turned toward evil continually. The world became filled with violence and corruption. This state of humanity brought a deep sorrow to its creator. The Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and he regretted that he had made them. And so a decision was made. A great flood would come to wash the world clean. But one man found grace in the eyes of the Lord. His name was Noah, righteous, blameless, walking faithfully with God. God instructed Noah to build an ark, a massive vessel of gopher wood sealed with pitch inside and out. He was to bring his wife, his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives and 2 of every kind of living creature into the ark. For 40 days and 40 nights the rain fell. The fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened. The waters rose until every high mountain was covered. Everything that lived and breathed on dry land perished. Only Noah and those with him in the ark remained, floating upon the silent waters. After many months, the waters began to recede. The ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. A new, clean world awaited them, green shoots emerging from wet soil, and with it the hope of a fresh start under a sky graced by the promise of a rainbow, God's covenant that he would never again destroy the earth by flood.